Howdy doody buckaroonies, you know, Big Gumdrop back at it again. Today we're getting all packed up so we can head out to Kearney, meet up with one of my buddies, and then from there we're going to, I think tomorrow after he gets done with all his classes, we're going to head up to O'Neill and we're going to try to do some deer hunting, and big duck season opens up, so hopefully we can get on some of those. Let's go along for the ride. I don't know how well this looks, but when I tell you I just saw the most picture perfect moment, the most Nebraska looking thing in the world, that's all I can say. I was driving on this way to Kearney and drove over this bridge and was looking up the little river that was running. And right when I looked up the river, I saw this silhouette of this doe walking across, and it was so cool because the river was pretty calm. You could see the reflection of not necessarily the sunset, but of the hues of the sky changing different colors on the river, and then you saw that silhouette of the doe walking across, and it just looked picture perfect. As you can see, sun's starting to go down. It's 7:35 right now, getting pretty close to Kearney, but I just wanted to share that. I wish I could have pulled over and got a picture of it, but I know by the time I would have pulled over, that doe would have been across the river and shot wouldn't have been there. But those are one of the things that I just love about traveling, especially during hunting season, because you get the opportunity to see stuff you wouldn't before. What up? It's the boys. So as you can see in that last clip, I just got dropped off at the stand called Hot Tub, and I got dropped off by Dylan and Ethan. And a little bit of history on Hot Tub is there's two different stands on this food plot. On the north stand, I sat there last year and I missed a doe, and on the south stand, that's where I'll be sitting today. So I watched that fawn feed up from the fence, and she ended up feeding all the way up to 10 yards underneath my tree stand. I watched that doe do the same thing, and I was expecting that that doe would end up right at that same spot that that fawn was, but she ended up taking an alternate route and was cut back up into the trees a little bit more. I took my shot at 20, feeling confident in it, but after I took the shot, I realized that I rushed it, so I was unable. It was an unsuccessful shot. After I took the shot, that doe popped up again at 40 yards and just stayed on that ridge about 40 yards away and just stayed there. I didn't feel comfortable taking that shot because I had just missed that 20-yard shot prior to that. Then a little forky came up, started working from my right, and that's why that doe and the fawn spooked. And if you listen closely to the first clip of the forky, you can hear that doe blowing at the forky when it was up on the ridge, just trying to like assert dominance and let him know that she was there. That forky ended up working that mineral block probably for like 45 minutes to an hour, all the way into the dark. And then after that, I climbed down out of the tree and I took off from there, and I had vengeance on my mind for sure, so that's where we ended up that next morning, sitting right back there at the South Hot Tub stand. All I saw that morning was that doe, and I had heard her crossing the creek. She kicked up a whole bunch of water, and that's what made me turn around, and I was watching her. And as soon as she got out of the creek, she must have caught my wind or something, because there was something that she didn't like, so she stayed on my side of the creek and just walked it down instead of feeding up like that fawn and that doe did the other day. During the day, then we were setting up a platform for a deer blind, and here's a couple clips of that. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of hard work, but it was a cool time, and I'm excited to see what it's going to look like when it's all done. And then going into the evening, Dylan and I sat at what's called Grandma's Chair, and it's an elevated ground blind. And we saw two does that were there, but they stayed really far away, and they were back in the thicket the whole time. And we really couldn't see them too much. We only saw them for a split second, and then they would just keep on cruising through. Nevertheless, when we got back to the lodge and we were getting undressed from our camo into our normal clothes, Dalton from Lower Loop Outdoors showed up with a smile on his face and a bloody arrow, and I'll let him tell the story from here.
Well, see, I was sitting there. She was actually there for probably 10 minutes, and somehow she caught my scent. I mean, I don't know how, because the wind was blowing the exact opposite way. Somehow she caught a little bit of it, and she's just sitting there sniffing. And then she stomped a couple times, and then she said, whatever. Kept walking towards me. I was like, all right, game time, about to shoot her. All of a sudden, just stick her nose up in the air again. She's like, this ain't right, and just turned around, then it stomped, then it run, no wheezing. Turned around, jumped or just about to jump the fence, and I was like, I gotta shoot her. I was like, 42 yards. I was like, I'm casting it. So
yeah.
Took it, and it hurt her bad though. I mean, she was. I don't find any blood anywhere, but she was hunched up running, and when I shot her, she went through the fence.
Okay.
There's a little bit of hair on the fence. And then she took off right along the creek. She didn't go through the creek, just right back where she came from.
So yeah.
So, who knows? I don't know. I just looked in the area where I hit her and didn't find blood. I didn't go very far, so.
Right, didn't want to spook her
I
up.
just backed out, and I don't know.
So after we crossed the fence, we started to find blood, but they were just in little dots. So we had to move really slowly, and we had to make sure that we looked at every leaf and every blade of grass, making sure that nothing was left unlooked at. Then we found evidence that the doe had walked through the creek, so we had to as well.
Okay, so we gotta land on that first step.
Not long after we crossed the creek, Ethan from Lower Loop Outdoors left the trail and was looking around where he suspected that she would be, and there she was. Found her. Oh yeah.
Shit, dead.
Good job, bro.
Guys, and it doesn't have spots, so you'll not. No. She's not a little doe. I got wet feet for you. Appreciate it, man. All right, let's go overboard. Chuck over your shoulder. And do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just 40 yards. That's an accomplishment in my books.
Hell yeah. Good job, bro.
Longest year ever. First year as a boat too.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Good job, dude. Yeah, 40 yards.
That's a shot at 40 yards.
I'm trying to put her right here.
Yes. Make sure it's your note.
I tried putting her right in here, but it was right there. It wasn't too bad for 40 yards.
And that was entrance or exit?
That was
That's entrance.
there, and it was coming down, so.
And that's it. That's the end of the video. Dalton was able to harvest a deer, and we had a really good time out there. I want to thank Ethan and Oakview Ranch for hosting us and showing us a good time while we were there, allowing us to get away from just normal everyday life and get out into the outdoors and just have some fun and have fun with good quality people. Also, I'm about to head out west. I'm heading out west tonight, so just in 3 hours. To go try to put a hunt on some mule deers with my buddy Zach. So stay tuned for that video and stay on the lookout. But other than that, Big Gumdrop out. What up, JIT?
What up? Are you filming me?
Yep.